surprised were you to see Rashawn back on the field when he was, and what's the excitement level for when he can finally get out there and do stuff with the team?
Well, the excitement level's high. You know, I was glad to, you know, he hasn't been cleared to do any team things yet, but just to have him around and out there and involved, even if it's just going through individual every day, he's able to now, you know, be able to go through our walkthroughs at night and things like that. So that's been great. So hopefully, you know, the next step obviously will be able to get him in practice, and hopefully that's soon.
231 players drafted ahead of Valentine.
You know, I say this all the time, Rob. In this, you know, it's the same thing. How was Tom Brady the 200 and whatever draft pick he was? You know, the draft is not an exact science. I tell the rookies that every year. You know, if you're in this long enough, I've coached first rounders that have been done and out of the league in 2 or 3 years, and I've coached, you know, 7th rounders that have, you know, gone on to have great Hall of Fame careers. So it's not an exact science, but you know, CB specifically, he's done some good things 3 weeks into camp. So got 2 more weeks. Hopefully it continues.
Along those lines, Joe, you're going to have Jair, Rasul. You've got Carrington playing well, and at some point Stokes is going to be back. That's a lot of corners where you can only play 2.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
You know, different packages. I've told you guys before, you know, having in this league, corners and pass rushers are a premium. So I think the more you have, the better it is. So, you know, we're just going to keep grinding every single day, and all those guys, that room, CV's had some opportunities with you know, Ja's been in and out with an injury, so it opened the door for Valentine to be able to get some reps with the first group, and he's responded. He's done a nice job. So, but it will be good. Hopefully, kind of along the lines with Rashawn. You know, hopefully Stokesy gets back soon. But those are good problems to have when, you know, especially at those positions, corner specifically and pass rusher. You know, the more of those guys you have, the better.
Not saying you guys are at this point yet, but how long would it take Rasul to learn safety and feel good about him playing safety if at any point down the road that decision came?
Rasul Douglas playing safety? I don't know. I've never seen Rasul Douglas play safety.
See a guy that could have the skill set for the position, the football IQ to go back there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Rasul has an unbelievable skill set and IQ. You know, a lot of I mean, there's a number of players that do, but I mean, Rasul Douglas is our starting corner right now.
Joe, following up on Rob's question about Valentine, I understand you have to temper your enthusiasm, right? It's been 3 weeks. He's a rookie 7th round pick. But you've coached in this league a really long time. When you see a player do what he has done at the start here, can you tell that there is something special about him? I know you're not, you know, putting him in with Dion or whatever else. I get that. But can you tell there's something different about him as compared to other 7th round picks or other young guys that have come in and tried to fit in right away but haven't been able to do what he's done?
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, you know, but again, I think you got to, if you're in this long enough, you know, there's always great surprises in the draft. Sometimes unfortunate surprises, sometimes really exciting surprises. As I mentioned, you know, you take a guy high and, geez, you're like, geez, when's this guy going to pan out? You get a guy late in the draft and you're like, oh my God, what a surprise. So he's done a great job. You know, credit Greg Williams and Justin Hood and the coaching that he's getting every day. But it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So he's done a nice job to this point. He's got to keep it going.
Hey, Joe, what have you seen, you know, with Kenny and all of his new running mates up front so far?
Yeah, it's a different room, as you guys know. You know, we lost some guys, but Kenny, you guys know, I think the world of him. I think what better room to be in, you know, not only to get coached by Jerry, but then, you know, I'm a big believer in veteran leadership and no one's better to follow than Kenny Clark. But those guys have done a really good job, especially, getting, you get a 4th and a 6th round draft pick, like we got. Those two guys have done a really good job. And the same thing. We got a lot more camp left. Still got 2 more preseason games left. But I've been very happy with where they're at this point.
I mean, getting back to the guys who really do play safety presently, Jonathan Owens is probably taking most of the first team reps. What do you like about him presently,
Yeah.
over Moore?
Well, I think that's competition is always great, especially this time of year in training camp. And same thing, we have an opening at the second safety spot, and we've tried to, and will continue to give all those guys. It's open competition right now, and talking, Rudy, you're talking T. Moore, you're talking J.O., and we've given all those guys opportunities based on the day to go with the first group, and that will continue. But specifically with Jonathan, Jonathan's a guy, he's played a lot of football, especially last year. I think he started 17 games for Houston. So he's a guy that's played a lot of ball, he's been around. And with anything, when you're looking for, specifically when you're talking about one of the starters, you're just looking for consistency every day. So those guys have all done a good job when they've been in with the first group, and we will continue. Like I said, we still got 2 more weeks of camp, so it will be interesting to see how that thing plays out.
Brian has said he's not overly concerned about Devondre for his injury for week 1. What do you think about the depth you have in that inside linebacker room?
Good. I think that's kind of the obviously the positive and the negative. You never want a guy, especially like Dre, who the player, the leader. You hate when something happens. I don't think it's going to be a massive deal, but he's going to miss a little bit of time. But the positive in that is that the Isaiah McDuffies, the Eric Wilsons, those guys get more reps and reps with the first group. So that's been positive, especially the last 2 days. We mixed both those guys in next to Quay the last 2 days with the Patriots. So it's been a great opportunity for them. So we want Dre back as soon as he can get back. But in the meantime, it's been great work for the young guys.
Do you anticipate Devondre being the guy that's calling the plays on the field this year?
I don't know. That we're still working through that. I think it's that's the nice thing in practice. You're not regulated to just one green dot in practice. So we let all those guys do it based on the period. We kind of say, hey, you got it this period, or you have it this day. So we want to get all those guys the experience doing it. So we're working through that.
Sticking with that spot, what do you think you might have in Carpenter? He's talked to us a couple times. I don't think maybe he's still not super embracing the move. But obviously you guys see something in him. What do you think you might have there?
Again, he's just he's a young, talented kid. He's got traits. He's big and he's fast and he can run. But coming from where he came from in college, he kind of was that hybrid type player that's kind of popular in college now. So I think he's just working through the skill set, but I do think he's a linebacker, and he's going to continue to play linebacker and continue to get reps. He's done some things, but like a young player, you have some good days, you have some bad days. It's all about how you come back and respond. And again, we got 2 more opportunities from a preseason standpoint to get some good work with him.
I'm not looking to help you give inside information to the Bears when I ask this, but listening to Ja talk, he's saying he's thinking he's going to travel more with #1 receivers. Him and Rasul are talking about how much more aggressive you're going to be and how much more man-to-man coverage you're going to play. Now, maybe that's wishful thinking from them, but maybe that's you being willing to listen to your guys like you talked about this offseason.
Sure.
Without giving away trade secrets, do you feel like your defense, when we watch it in games this season, is going to look in some ways a lot different than what you've kind of tried to run the first 2 years? Or how do you kind of feel you guys are progressing toward maybe philosophically a change?
Well, I hope, I think as a coach, I think football's always evolving, especially the offensive side of the ball. And, it's a defense's job to keep up with it. So, yeah, I would like to think that, we'll be different than this year than we were a year ago. Also, I think every single week, based on who you're playing, based on who the quarterback is, based on the style of offense you're playing, you got to change with the times a little bit. But yeah, and those are week to week decisions that we'll make every week. And I know that Jair, you guys know him. He wants that. He craves that. So we'll actually look into that every single week. Week 1 especially, all the way through the season.
I'm kind of in the same line. How has the addition of Greg Williams affected that? Kind of, maybe not change, but whatever it is you're trying to do with those guys.
Yeah, Greg's, I don't know if you guys had a chance to be around him. I know he's talked to you guys once, but just a great guy. He's got a great demeanor about him. He's smart, he's tough. I think guys love playing for him. So I think he's come into the room and done a great job. But Greg's a great coach, and I think the connection that he's made with the guys, being able to go through an off season with them, and then working through camp, I think it's been really good.
Well, you've seen Darnell bounce back from a year that he probably wasn't pleased with last season, at least so far throughout camp.
Yeah, and it's there's highs and lows, peaks and valleys in everyone's career, and I always want to see how a guy responds, and I think Ryan Downer's done a great job with that whole room, but it's been cool to see. Darnell's he's the old man in the room now. He's the leader in the room, and it's been kind of neat to see how he's really embraced that. And I really like the style of play that he's playing with right now. So he was here all off season, which was great, and he's had a great camp so far.
We heard after the Bengals game that Kenneth Odumegu got the game ball. What's this process been like working with him?
Really great kid. I mean, literally, this guy, because he was able to be in the rookie mini camp with us, and I mean, this kid literally didn't know. There's field and boundary calls, based on what hash mark the ball's on. You guys with me? We had and he didn't even know what a hash mark was. And this was back in May. So when we had our first padded practice, whatever day that was, a couple weeks ago, that was the very first time that he'd ever put a helmet and shoulder pads on. So we made a big deal in one of at the very end. We did some live work with our third teams, and Kenny came off a block and made a tackle, and it literally was the first tackle he's ever made in his life. And I showed the clip to the defense, and he stood up and everyone applauded him. So it's a great story. It really is, because it's not like this kid's been. You look at him. I mean, he looks like an NFL football player, but he's never really played football at any level, and now he's playing football on the highest level there is. So it's pretty neat. It's a great story. So we're very happy to have him.
Did the tackling for him look like he's been playing it all along, or?
It was okay, I wouldn't go that far, but he got the guy down, and but it was just neat to see. I mean, he's taking on an NFL blocker, getting off a block and making a tackle on an NFL running back, and literally 3 hours earlier, that was the first time he'd ever put a helmet and shoulder pads on. So it's a cool story. It's great that the NFL's doing it, and like I said, we're glad to have him.
Devontae is getting an opportunity, obviously, to be with the one defensive line. What have you seen the difference in him from now to a year ago?
I think as a coach with any young player, again, I don't care where you're drafted. I think, you're always looking for, you know, that improvement from year one to year two. And especially with young players, that's always sometimes it's not going to go as fast as you want. And some guys have really easy transitions when they come into the league. Other guys, it takes a little bit of time. And I know as a coach, we're just always looking for daily improvement. And you know, looking back to where DY's at currently in this moment right now compared to where he was a year ago, he's made those improvements. So again, I expect him to be better tomorrow than he was today. But he's in a good place right now, and just got to show up every day, punch the clock, go to work, and we got 2 more weeks to do that. So, but he's I love where he's at right now.
Joe, what do you think of being upstairs against the Bengals, and is that an actual consideration to do that this year?
It really is. It was just like anything. You know, I think you always resist things and fight things in anything that we all do. Literally in my coaching career, I mean, even going back to when I was a GA at the very start, I've never been in the press box, ever. So we were talking, Matt and I were having a conversation one day, and just, you know, he was talking about it, and, you know, especially calling, you know, he was looking at it, he's like, oh my God, for me as a play caller, he's like, I'd love to be in the press box. So I was thinking about it, and I talked to some of my buddies around the league that do it, and they were like, oh yeah, he's like, if I had the choice, I'd love to be able to do that. So I went back to Matt and we talked about it, and I said, you know what, I think in the preseason, I think I'm gonna just try it, you know. And it was great. I mean, now I know what you guys have experienced all these years up in the press box. It's you know, it's much calmer up there. You can lay all your stuff out. It's amazing how much more you're able to accomplish in between series, you know, as far as looking at the pictures and those things. So to answer your specific question, I really liked it. So I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm onto something here. I kind of like it.